With all this modern technology, it's just getting harder and harder to actually contact anyone and speak to anyone because back in the olden, not in the olden days, but back when, when you were younger, you had your own friends in your own area, right? Your own immediate area, and you only contacted people if you needed something or if there was something important. For example, go through the yellow pages and ring someone up if you need something specific or if you're looking for something. Even back then, if people were doing petitions or something, or if you wanted to contact the council, or just whatever it was, but people didn't really engage that much in what was happening, I suppose politically, or even really so much with their councils, because you only really had what was happening in the newspaper. The thing is now that as there are important things happening, you really need to contact certain people or get a message to them. And people are now so bombarded with social media, almost becoming like little mini celebrities in a way, everyone really, and they're all getting up to 10,000 or even 100,000 or more, whatever you want to call them, subscribers, viewers, fans, whatever. The standard communications is swamped with superficial or just, fair enough if people put in thoughtful comments or deep comments, but it gets to a point where you just can't really process that many things. And then they're saying that there's something wrong with us, we're not intelligent enough, and then we need to be assimilated off it with a chip so we can, thoroughly scan and, read all these messages. Yet, they're getting it so people can't even reverse a car by themselves. There ain't, 150,000, messages or even 1,000 messages to have to go through and read. When you're reversing a car, it's a simple manoeuvre, but we're not even trusted to do that anymore proficiently, So I think that really and surely by the time people have checked the social media, they haven't even really got enough time to hang around with the proper friends really anymore. And, but the main thing I wanted to talk about now is what is actually happening. There's a lot of channels been saying this and a lot of people been actually making this comment at the moment, okay, then there's something going on, but what is it? What is going on? What is happening? There's just been a programme about Tony Blair, going into all Tony Blair's affairs and happenings, and they were saying in this interview about Tony Blair, not with Tony Blair, about him, this guy had basically researched him, and he said, he's got all these bright young people working for him, the latest, bright young, graduate people, the best they can get. But then, apparently later on in this interview, he's saying, even the people that who work for him, and, he's getting all these people to work for him, like this Tony Blair organisation in these offices around the world. And then after these people have finished working for him, they still aren't any wiser about really what they're actually really doing or what they're there for. So they can't really be that bright, can they? If they haven't figured out what they're there for or what they're doing, someone must know. I think that actually if you just list one thing they did do in that interview is give us a list of all the companies and associations that he's done talks for, that it was paid for, not the ones that he does for free. And then of all those companies that he does talks for that pays for, let's see the names of the people who are in charge of them, what those companies do, what all the projects are, who are the investors. Let's see the spider web of that. And then we'll see exactly what he's up to. These are his fans. These are the people who take his consultancy, and put it to motion, But it's self-explanatory, all those governments that have been taking his advice for upgrading and updating their processing procedures, government facilities. Likely all these governments who are buying all these security devices and surveillance and speed cameras from our ex-police chiefs and so forth. Surprise, surprise. And then these governments, once they've, got all the latest computers that Blair advises and the latest new systems and ways of doing things, then, we have to make sure that, if the people, the voters and the electors and the governments are making laws that these globalist companies don't like, then they go sue them, which is joke to beyond joke. But the main and simplest, to try and boil it down or reduce it to the simplest description of what is going on at the moment, there's a lot of things that people are focusing on currently, but there are some main themes that are running through all these things. But I think the easiest and most basic way to explain it, besides everyone saying, oh, we're getting his rights taken away from us or whatever, is this, that we're meant to elect people, even if it's a party or an individual independent, we're meant to elect them and they're meant to go and, run the country and do the legislation. And we are supposed to, or meant to have a say in this. And if we're not happy with it, then we elect different people. And the laws that are enacted are meant to be what the whole country is operating by, but not just, in public. There's this whole thing to do with in public, right? Yes, we're in public. Yes, we walk down the streets. Yes, we go to parks, we go to libraries. It's the public, right? But I think that's like a red herring, a distraction, a catch-22. If we are meant to vote on or have a say in and enact all of the laws of the country, even the laws that govern businesses, trading standards, consumer rights, what are the regulations of companies, regulatory legislation of companies, health and safety legislation of companies, the rights of companies, what companies can and can't do when they own buildings, whether they can demolish them or not. We are meant to be electing on even what the businesses and companies can do. So when we have these rights, like right to petition and so forth, where does these rights apply and who does it apply to? We, the people who have the right to vote and elect and pursue that. So these owners, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, must think that we were born yesterday or are retarded or stupid in some way if they think that we would have these laws and then we would have it so they don't apply to their companies. They do apply to their companies. That's the point. This is what, the fundamental rights and liberties of the realm are. The fundamental rights and liberties of the realm to be protected from being subverted. The realm is the realm. Mark Zuckerberg wants to create a realm called the metaverse. That's a type of realm, but it's a fictional realm. Our realm is the entire realm, which means inside, outside, underground, overground, wobbling, free. This is our realm, and these are our rights, so we're free. I don't know where Paul Groves or Neil Mohan or, Google or any of these people, where do they think, but the thing is, these companies now, the governments have allowed them to, and they know exactly what they're up to. They know exactly what technologies these companies are doing, because we've got the Technology and Innovation new department. The lie of Nick Clegg is that, the governments are behind. No, they're not behind. They've just got on technology innovation, and everything that we've made is because of universities that they're following keenly, and professors and technology departments and television. Every single thing that's been done is being done because the government want them to do it and like what they're doing. In fact, they want to bring in from this technology, apply it to us with digital ID. They've got absolutely no intention, no desire whatsoever to say, what's happening here in this technological industry? Maybe we better put some regulations on it to restrict what it can do. None whatsoever, because they don't want to. It's doing what they want it to do. And Tony Blair's making full use of this because he's spearheading the whole thing. And what's actually happening now is the government getting legislation through that they want to do, and they're getting lobbied and so forth, but they struggle because they've got opposing parties, but also the people aren't too keen on what they're doing. And they even like to try to sneak stuff through so we can't see. But their biggest and greatest achievement so far, their Goliath achievement, is this whole David Cameron claiming that he's going to sell everything off, from the public ownership, so then it can be more competitive in the private, and then we'll have more choice, and they'll, drive prices down or competitive prices. No, what actually happens is they sell it, then it all gets taken into private ownership. Now they're trying to say that we don't have our rights in it anymore, or saying that that's what it meant all along, when it never did mean that all along, not at all. At what point did it change? When it went into private ownership? So David Cameron effectively said, all right, by the way, I'm selling all the stuff off and your rights with them. I don't think so. What these companies are doing, and the thing is, the biggest thing of what's happening now is that everything is not owned by, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, and, the shoe shop, the hat shop, the clinic, the doctors, the engineers. Everything is being purchased and bought up by companies who then take into ownership, and then it is all put under regulation, rules and policy of these companies. You see, what was the realm before? What was the realm? The realm was the public arena, people's private houses, the government, and all these different businesses that were all as unique and individual as people's unique and individual private houses, right? But now they're not. Now they're all purchased and owned by these big companies who control everything, and now they're saying, well, we're making up the rules. We're making up the rules. So rather than, you see, when all these companies were privately owned individually, then they made their own individual rules up. So they all had different rules, although rights apply. But now, rather than, everyone having their own house with their own house rules, if you wanted to make up your own house rules, and everybody having their own company with their own company rules, which might have been all completely different, now it's only one, group of companies or one entity with one set of rules, and they're making everyone else comply with it. That's pretty much like what a government does, has a large number of people under one set of rules, right? But what these companies now are doing are taking control and ownership of not only all the businesses, they are... You see, a large part of the realm that we are engaged in, active in, operating, living, move around in, navigating, a large part of that realm was a mixture of, a myriad of owners that are diverse and high in number. There are as many different, rules as you can think of. There was nothing to be concerned about taking your rights away, because the whole point of the rights and liberties were for the realm. But the thing is, a major part of the realm is private, because, a major part of the realm is private houses, and a major part of the realm is in businesses. Therefore, the only part of the realm, the public area, the public arena. So the realm was divided between these, private houses, then businesses, and public. But you never would say, oh, you don't have medical rights in your own private house, or you never have medical rights at work. Quite the contrary. There never is any arguments like, oh, you can't have an ambulance at the top of a mountain, or you can't have an air ambulance in a factory, you can't have an ambulance in a house. No, those rights, the rights of the realm are permeable through everything. Now, what these massive companies are doing now, they're taking ownership. They're starting to feel like governments, because they not only have one factory out of, hundreds and thousands. Now they own, we own 30% of factories, or we own 50%, or we own all of them nearly, or whatever it is. And that is almost like the government. It's like, it literally is governmental power over their employees, but only to the extent of what the law allows them to, or rights allow them to, or don't allow them to. And they really are trying to pass it off as that, things aren't what they actually are. The Department of Transport did this with the driving licence, with the weight of the 3.5 tonne vans when they're a motor car, and they were a motor car before, and I clearly remember them being a motor car. In fact, it says on the driving licence. And then at one point, without changing any law, you look at the legislation through the acts, right, of the various road traffic acts and the updates, and no legislation was changed. On dual carriageways, suddenly the police and the government said, all right, we're going to enforce, instead of 70 mile an hour, we're going to start saying that a van's a car and it's 60, not 70. When no legislation changed. They just started saying that, right? When, it's still a motor car. And they just started lying about it. And then if it wasn't for us finding the old driving licence and my memory of knowing what it was, even being told, then you wouldn't have pulled them on it. And I got all the evidence to the Department of Transport, to the DVLA, to the chief executive, the lady, challenged her on it, and she would not say that I was wrong. She refused to claim that I wasn't right, but she wouldn't admit fault. And they didn't do anything about it. And then I was pursuing it and pushing it for quite a while. But then other things took my attention, like, I had my own problems to sort out with my own driving license, and then other things. And, I just, it wasn't, I didn't have the attention span to carry on pushing them. Maybe I could have got a lawyer and sued them or whatever, but that's one of the things they've been lying about. But they've been doing it with many things, just making stuff up. And that's now what they're doing on YouTube. YouTube just lies. It's pulling videos down like no tomorrow. It's pulling hundreds of thousands of videos down a day. And many of these strikes aren't valid. It's sending an issue and a claim against people that isn't true. It's just a lie. And they haven't even got the staff to check them all. And that's nothing to do with their third-party immunity from, between a claimant and a respondent, or even the law of the country. And they themselves, when they do things, when they look at things and they issue things under the normal law, not even under copyright law, they themselves they're issuing false statements and they're giving false accounts of things under false accounting. That's got nothing to do with, whether they're enforcing, certain laws with other parties. It's got nothing to do with what I upload onto YouTube. It's got absolutely nothing to do whatsoever with YouTube being responsible for what I upload. That's got nothing to do with the fact that YouTube is doing false accounting, giving a false account of something and committing fraud. This discriminating against people, between people who are doing the same thing, but they take action against one but refuse to against the other. There are many things that YouTube are doing wrong, and they're so big. But the thing is, they've got to be serious about things because they're big, they're huge. Why they've been given this immunity when newspapers have got night lawyers and they're meant to check everything? I think that it's so huge that they basically thought that, look, we've got so many people now, wouldn't it be convenient if we just ripped everything down and pulled anything down and just said, oh, we're sorry about that. It's just so big, it's so huge. A poor little computer can't handle it. How convenient. I mean, it's okay if you've got an electric door that slams someone in the face 3 or 4 times, but when it does it 100,000 times, then you've got to think, and they be responsible for this door? Causing injuries to people, stealing all, and this is the thing. It is serious. They are committing so many mass amounts of giving false statements out and fraudulent claims that they can't say that it's a mistake or just blame their computer, or get a technician in and say, oh, we'll have to get it fixed now. It must be by design. And if they can't handle it when they're too big, the company needs breaking up and bringing down to size. And this is the thing with David Cameron. David Cameron said, "Oh, we're going to encourage competitive. Let's sell off the BBC. Let's sell off Channel 4. Let's break down these more competitiveness." Well, where's the competitiveness with YouTube? There is none, because all we've got is Kick or Rumble or whatever. They're not really very good. Where is this competition? Where's the competition from YouTube? If you're under David Cameron's model of competition from YouTube, then there will be at least 5 or 6 or 8 highly competing video platforms that were all very, very good, and some of them will be competing for who's going to let you have your political rights on there. But what we still have is Rumble sketchy, Kick sketchy, YouTube's on there and it hasn't got its rights on, so it's not competing with rights at all. The only thing that's competing is that Joe Biden and the American government and Google are all in on competing with us to strip us rights away, so we can't actually beat them and really compete with them on the platform. In fact, it's anti-competitive. It's anti-competitive for rights. It's competitive for fame, selling prime drink products, Mr. Beast chocolate bars, and seeing how famous they can, how astronomically famous they can make people for doing sweet FA. Sitting in a chair, 2 chairs, with a couple of CEOs who actually don't know sweet FA about anything except the latest technologies, and they don't actually really know that much about the latest technologies because they didn't invent them. They aren't programmers, they aren't coders. They actually don't do much except say, "Oh, let's change the buttons on the website," or "Now we've got a new novel algorithm checking your psychology. Let me consult with our people who are implementing new advertising strategies," and blah, 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 which actually, blankety blank, we really surveyed all of our listeners, and they said, "We can't stand ads, we don't like them. In fact, they're driving us nuts. I want to smash my phone on the floor." And it's not enough that I can block this ad, it's actually wait 10 seconds till it loads to block it. It's forcing me to watch shit on first exposure that I don't want to watch, and it's just making me worse. It's making me a worse person. It's making me annoyed at the slightest thing. It's making me extra sensitive. It's making me antisocial. It's making me block anyone I don't want to talk to or look at anything I don't want to look at. It's a pain in the ass, except people who are paying for it to force me to look at it because they pay for the privilege. It's the worst social experiment ever to, be invented. And it's not progress, it's not technology, it is crap. And this is what Tony Blair's legacy is. It's shit. And I'm getting annoyed with it. And this is what's going on. There's some self-proclaimed privilege currently and power to effectively conjure up legislation that no one voted for or chose. And there's no voting in it at all whatsoever. And it's actually having more effect over us immediately in day-to-day, moment-to-moment life. Now, before you even leave your house, for even contemplating doing anything that might be illegal or accidentally doing something illegal out leaving your house, it's having more an effect and impact on you than this legislation. In fact, it's trying to affect us and get us to go along with some really ridiculous legislation changes like, bisexuality and gender bending and stuff like that. We're being what David Cameron effectively done is not said, "Oh, we'll sell everything off and let people compete and have a fair market." What he's done is he's taken our government and services offers, he's given them over to big business who are his friends and pals, and he's let them buy it up. And then him and Tony Blair have been saying, "All right, well, we'll advise you all now and tell you what to do, and we're going to stop everybody from doing anything." And it's not even legislation. And then how any country even can do it. No one in any country can even post or do anything without getting blocked or banned now. So how they would even fucking need an army, I don't know. I mean, these people can't even fucking post. People in China can't even watch shit on the internet. Why is China a threat to anything? I don't know. I mean, they're about zero a threat online. I mean, you should be able to judge how dangerous a country is by what you can do on the internet. And China and, Russia can't do sweet FA on the internet. So how is their country any threat? They're about as much threat to anyone as a threepenny bit. You can't even take the piss out of Putin. If I could take the piss out of Putin in Russia, then I might be a threat to Putin, but I'm not. So, it shows how dangerous a comedy program is to Putin. That means that someone's comedy program is more dangerous to Putin than a tank, because Putin needs to make it illegal. So I'd say to Putin, Putin, who's the real global threat now? A couple of jokes. I have to make them illegal, can't do that. Jokes are more of a threat to Putin than anything. This war is proxy war, and it's a world stage show. It's joke, and we've got people in government like, Pelosi and people like that. They're all puppets. What's happening is they are using, it's a takeover. You used to hear this hostile takeover in companies. Well, it's more than a hostile takeover of one company. They've taken over everything. It's a hostile takeover of the realm, of the world, actually. And the ministers and political parties are in on it. They're allowing it. Some of them are complaining against it, like GB News and so forth, and people on YouTube, but they're even trying to stop what we can say and do. That's what's happening. We're under a hostile takeover through these companies, and they've got tools, devices, which are helping them. And I think they've been listening in for a very long time. They've just said that that Merkel woman, in the German Prime Minister, had been spied on by one of the embassies, and they've been listening to her private conversations, phone and live. We know they've been doing that to everyone who they've got an interest in anyway, but it's not about them listening in. I think they've been listening in ever since the telephone was there, or the radio sets, They've had us houses wired for sound, as Elton John would say. The newspapers listening in to people for a very long time now, since the 50s, 60s, 70s. But what really is getting them now is the mobile phones, so they can get the data, use AI in the background on big government supercomputers, utilise Mark Zuckerberg's computer, the big AI experiment. My mate used to go on a website where it would use your computer to help calculate the search for alien life, contribute towards the search for alien life. You could go on a website and let it use your computer's computing power to help the calculations. What's actually happening now is our smartphones are all working, gathering data on us to help a supercomputer to work out, calculate everybody's profile everyone for capabilities, capacity and threats. And then you will get Tony Blair looking out for bright people, and then he does an assessment, and when he finds out these bright people are likely to not be bought, sold, boycotted or cancelled, if Tony Blair can't buy them with fame and greed, if he can't get them on the Neil Mohan celebrity spot, if he can't get them on Ed Ted, if he can't get them singing the latest pop song or starring in the latest movie, or, having the latest worshipping audience bowing down to them, if he can't sell their souls to the devil by that, then they're no good to him if they can't raise taxes for the realm. And if they are going to be even opposed to that, if they're going to spread love and kindness and real true charity, not pretend charity, and they're not going to raise any revenue for the government because they're just going to give things away or do things for free and encourage other people to do things through love, which is zero use to Jeff Bezos until he's replaced it all by robots. And by that time, any opinion which is contrary to ownership of those factories and manufacturing plants will be a serious threat. If they can't buy us or sell us or sway your opinion, then you're no good. And if you happen to be a person of capacity, of skill, then you need to be extracted. You need to be assimilated, removed. The claw of Tony Blair needs to come down and find you and pluck you out like a grey hair. He needs to pluck you out because you are an obstruction. You are, not in affiliation with the academy. And this is a problem with Blair. Is bright young people who all agree with his consultations, do what he says or under his instructions, and the machines all make that better. Unfortunately, for humans, we're biological. A world that is a walking frame, a Zimmer frame world, a pair of spectacles, a massive geometric construction of a computer world around us, which is the mobility scooter, the the hamster wheel of evolution, the super technical Google hamster wheel that is algorithm to your exact motion, while you've got the meta goggles on, the ultimate Zimmer frame. This, unfortunately, is where they're going with it. And they also want to get rid of your human body so you can be assimilated with your consciousness into the robot. And then there's no need to have that. There's no need to be male. There's no need to be female. We don't need males and females now. We live forever. We've got infinite consciousness. We don't need penises and vaginas. And if there ever was anything biological left in you, we can just reproduce that by gene therapy. Why need arms and legs now? You're an infinite creature, and you can just launch off into space like Optimus Prime. Who needs arms and legs? It's like T2000. Now I'm a pack of cigarettes. Now I'm a fucking human. Now I can disguise myself as a fucking Scaramanga's fucking cigarette lighter. Like Russell Brand said he's got six nipples the other day. Now I've got 6 nipples and a cigarette lighter. Now I can decide, I don't need to, I am a cow and I'm a cow. No, now I'm a geometrical, self-transforming, snowflake drifting through space. My consciousness lives forever. The face of Boa. This is it. I've actually... Elon Musk will pass all this off as just banter, like raving, pointless discussion, calculating to his human being point of life, so forth. But, in the world of, the planet Earth, a volcano could erupt tomorrow and wipe us all out like the dinosaurs and start again. It's this self-importance, the importance of the Hadron Collider, the importance of these scientists. Oh, look, it's Pompeii. A lot of scientists have just been killed by a volcano. It's a forklift truck in the Hadron Collider. Some scientist wasn't paying attention and he got crushed with a forklift truck with the weight of a big machine. Ooh, that story didn't get out everywhere, did it? But how did that happen? Or was it just set up? Was it set up like some of these incidents are set up to scare the scientists? But yet they all know who's in charge. They've got their eyes focused on the microscope, but they haven't seen what's going on around them. Are they being scaremongered like everyone else? Is it a terrorist move just to make them know that you know where the money came from, where the funding came from, and you know what you're going to do with this technology once you find out how to control cracks in the universe? There are ways of us making you talk and ways of making forklift trucks squish scientists. I squish your head. This is the thing with Brian Cox. While his, jaws dropped on his Lamborghinis and he's, hey, I'm at the new convention. He's a new Ferrari. I'm Brian Cox. It's cool. Yeah, cool. Ferrari, cool. Look, a keyboard. I'm Brian Cox. I play a pop song. Do. This is it. I'm famous. And I'll talk about loads of technical numbers. Brian Cox I'm starting to think, everyone's criticising Robert F. Kennedy for throwing out all these numbers, all these figures. These MSNBC presenters go, what is RFK on? He just throws out all these numbers all the time. He's just throwing out all these statistics. Well, yeah, he's a professor and he's trying to run for president. He's got to know his information, his data. There's like Jimmy Dore, like pulling him on this and that, and they're like, where are they pulling all these numbers from? That was like Brian Cox. Why at MSNBC going, look, it's Professor Brian Cox, the wonders of the universe. All he's doing is throwing all these numbers out. Yeah, well, the sun is 559 billion miles away, and the stars, it takes 3.7 billion years to fly across the universe. And then why ain't MSNBC pulling out Brian Cox and going, well, Brian Cox is just throwing all these numbers out. Nobody's checking them. But they do that with RFK. They say, no, he's just throwing all these wild numbers out. That's all he does. Well, I'm like, well, that's all the fuck Brian Cox does. He's just throwing out all these numbers all the time. Oh, and there's 5 million particles in an eyeball. And those particles take 6 billion trillion microseconds to buy 52 trillion leptons. And we know this because we've measured the blah-de-da-de-da-de-da, la-de-da-de-da. We've measured the boobity-doobity-doo. And then there's RFK. Well, it is 559% of people have been affected by this virus and blah, 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 blah. You know, this is it. Why are MSNBC pulling out Brian Cox on his figures and like they're boring them to death? Like some fucking MSNBC presenter chewing gum and her eyeballs are rolling round. I mean, to listen to fucking RFK's figures being thrown out and her ears are melting. You have to listen to something intelligent. You know, it's like, like a fucking, there's an ice cream van fucking come through the studio, like, ding, 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 does anyone buy a cornet? Well, we've only got 62 cornets left, and this is my last Rolo, MSNBC, Musk, the thing with Musk and Zuckerberg is, they're about as important as, a Larvard Pompeii citizen. This is the thing. And now, they're even getting Elon Musk's American government laser beams that apparently he's helped them work on. We've got these mysterious fires starting in Hawaii, and it's a little bit like Die Another Day, getting chased by the Icarus beam from Elon Musk's government lasers. It's almost like he's chasing Mark Zuckerberg with a fire beam, almost like instead of a cage fight that he challenged him to. It's almost like that. I don't know where they pull these stunts from.